You live in a world that wants you weak, anxious, and dependent, and the price is your soul. My name is Laird, and if you got here, it was no coincidence. In this video, I will reveal why conscious male celibacy is the hidden key that modernity wants to keep buried. Because when a man retains his energy, he breaks the invisible shares of the sexual matrix and arouses a power that scares even the spirits. Let's dive into truths that mix St. Augustine, Jung, and the vibrational science of seminal retention, a lethal combination against apathy, compulsion, and existential emptiness that plagues modern man. Here, you will understand why your semen is not just biology, it's fate, and why when you keep it, the world begins to hear you in silence. This video is a ritual, a portal, a call to those who are ready to die like boys and reborn as conscious, magnetic, and spiritually armed men. Remain to the end, because every minute carries codes that can reorder its focus, energy, and life. If this message touches something inside you, then you are already part of what we are building, a global movement of restoration of virile essence. Subscribe now, activate the bell, and help the gods of Semen channel reach the 25,000 initiates that will carry this silent revolution. Your body feels, your soul already knows. Now it's your mind you need to hear. The modern world is built on an invisible but brutal foundation: sexual control. Everything from marketing to relationships revolves around excitement, promise of pleasure, and constant offer of bodies as a value currency. In this scenario, the man who decides to refrain not only to exclude himself, he rebels. Your simple choice becomes a revolutionary gesture. He leaves the game. He is no longer a pawn on the easy dopamine board. And that's where your true freedom begins. St. Augustine, after a wanton youth, understood something that few men understand today. Uncontrolled desire is not a sign of virility, but of slavery. Desert priests fled not to women, but from attachment to the flesh that kept them stuck in the world. For them, chastity was not a weakness. It was a path of spiritual liberation, a break with the earthly matrix. They realized that incessant desire is a collar, and that there is only one way to tear it: the absolute rule over one's own body. Modern seminal retention rescues this spirit, but now as a silent form of resistance. The man who opts for conscious celibacy is not denying his woman. He is denying the system that tries to make him a slave to his own impulses. He no longer wants to please, seek approval, begging validation. He closes the door. He becomes a mystery, not just for others, but to himself. And this inner silence begins to scream to the world, "I am not manipulable." And it is at this point that the modern woman destabilizes herself, not because she rationally understands what's going on, but because she feels. Feel when a man is no longer available to the game of seduction. When he looks, but does not want to. When he talks, but doesn't flirt. When he is present, but unreachable. This man exudes a presence that no makeup can attract, that no neckline can double. Because he has seen beyond the flesh, and there is no way to compete with someone who has already won himself. The woman does not fear the celibate for what he says, but for what he represents. He is the living denial of dependence. He is the incarnate proof that it is not necessary. And paradoxically, this attracts it, because what doesn't need her is exactly what she wants to achieve. And that's where the game becomes. The man who refuses to play becomes the true player. He leaves the script, breaks the simulation, and writes his own story with blood, silence, and power. Carl Jung identified in his investigations of the human soul the existence of an inner figure in each man, the animal, the embodiment of his unconscious feminine dimension. For Jung, modern man lives in constant battle with this figure, and it is precisely through this battle that he can conquer his entirety. But the woman instinctively realizes this clash. What's more, she tries to influence her result, because while the man is reacting to the feminine image within himself, he is still under her dominion, both inside and out. The woman, deep down, doesn't just want a male body. She wants to rule his psychic world. She wants to be the sun of her unconscious, the center around which he orbits. But the man who crosses the fire of desire and comes out of the other side becomes a threat. It is dangerous not because it is aggressive, but because it is impenetrable. Your mind does not bow, your soul does not seek approval, and this activates something ancestral in it. The fear of irrelevance to a man who is sufficient. When he doesn't react, she feels. When he does not change before her body, she shakes. Not because he feels rejected, but being confronted with a force she cannot control. His silence is more deafening than 1,000 compliments. His absence weighs more than any carnal presence, and the mystery of his indifference begins to produce cracks within it. He doesn't have to prove anything, to compete or to beg. He is only. And this state of being without lack is an invisible weapon. Throughout history, there are reports of men who have become literally untouchable before the feminine. Monks, hermits, philosophers, men whose aura prevented any sexualized approach, not because they were saints in the moralistic sense, but because they had become masters of their own energy. They learned to transform tension into transcendence, and this presence made them feared and desired because they could not be manipulated. Non-reactive man is not just an individual who controls his impulses. He is an archetype, the master of himself, and in the female collective unconscious, this archetype represents both danger and salvation. It threatens everything that is built on seduction and instinct, but at the same time it is the only thing that really arouses reverence, because in the end, it is the invisible domain that produces uncontrollable desire, and it is in this abyss between his control and its lack of control that the real dance begins. If you felt something different in this video, then you are ready to go further. Stored sex, the code of raw masculine energy, is the manual that ordinary men will never read, but the initiates carry as a sword, with over 170 pages divided into 8 complete modules. This initiatory book delivers activation phrases, spiritual practices, seminal retention rituals, and hidden codes that will rebuild your psyche, focus, and presence in the world. It is not a simple ebook. It is a field of spiritual training forged for the modern man who wants to break free from the compulsion, to master his sexual energy, and to take back the stolen place of strength. Click now on the description link or the fixed comment and start your journey. The first 10 buyers still guarantee an exclusive and unrepeatable promotion. Sexual energy, in its most gross essence, is the raw material of the spirit. What the modern world calls impulse or lust is, in fact, the denser expression of a force that can be shaped high and transmuted. The ancients knew that. The mystics, the warriors, the saints, all of them at some point came across this energy and realized, either it consumes you or it builds you, and the line between one destination and another is consciousness. The man who abstains from his own choice is not a weak, he is an alchemist. He takes the same energy as others waste on instant pleasure and converts it into magnetism, presence, voice, direction. This is why this man becomes dangerous. It has an accumulated energy that begins to leak through the eyes, the chest, with the breath. People don't know how to explain, but they feel. Its presence occupies the environment. He doesn't have to impose himself. He is imposed, because the energy that is not ejaculated becomes vibration, and vibration is power. This conscious retention is a modern rite of passage, no longer a tribal ritual, but a silent internal journey where man stops seeking female approval and begins to build a legacy. He does not seek excitement, he seeks eternity. Each day of retention is a stone placed in the construction of its inner tower, and this tower is not visible, but it can be felt. In the way he walks, how he observes, how he shuts up, something changes in the look. He no longer begging attention. His gaze is no longer desire, it is judgment. It weighs, evaluates, measures, and that scares, because it is the look of those who are not trying to conquer, but select. Your posture also transforms. The body is no longer an instrument of search for pleasure and becomes a vehicle of authority. He moves less, speaks less, gesturing less, and yet everyone perceives him, because his silence vibrates louder than the noise of others. This man is no longer trying to prove that he is virile. He has become the very incarnation of disciplined virility. His presence speaks of something ancestral. The male who does not waste his semen is the male who rules his internal territory, and this territory once conquered can no longer be invaded. He becomes king of himself, and no king bends before lust. The woman may not know what seminal retention is. She may never have heard of conscious male celibacy, sexual transmutation, or vital energy converted into presence, but her body knows, her soul feels, because there is something inexplicable that vibrates in the energetic field of a man who is dominated. He doesn't talk about it, he emanates, and this emanation, however subtle, resonates directly on the female nervous system. The woman before a man in retention feels silent discomfort and a deep attraction. Her body reacts primitively as if before an invisible heat source. It is common for her to dream with him, even without intimate contact. Think of him without reason, feel a restlessness in the womb, a change in the hormonal rhythm, an acceleration in the ovulatory cycle. It is as if something would open involuntarily to receive what he keeps. It's not magic. It is intertwined biology and spirituality. Retention concentrates seminal energy, and this concentration creates a magnetic field. This field crosses the distance, the social filters, the educated words. He touches the woman in a place that no speech reaches. She doesn't understand, but wishes. Don't understand, but dreams. Because that man carries something that is no longer available in others. Vital power is not spent. He is fertile from himself. The man she can't control becomes the man she wants most. Because he does not deliver, he does not bend, he does not dissolve in need. And this kind of strength, when emanating in silence, activates in women a desire for surrender that she herself does not understand. She wants to be won by him, but not with words, nor with caresses. She wants to be overcome by what she cannot name. Her aggressive sexual absence, her restraint, her invisible discipline. This is the paradox. The more it retracts, the more it advances. The less it offers, the more it exposes itself. The modern woman, with all her proclaimed autonomy, still carries an ancestral memory, that of the unreachable male, one who does not bow to the womb, who does not seek the approval of the flesh, which is whole in itself. This man not only attracts, he subjugates, not with brute force but with internal domain. And this domain is irresistible because it represents everything it can never control. If you have come here, it is because something within you refuses to live as a spectator. Alchemy of the Gods is not just a book. It is a portal of spiritual activation, an initiatory work that reveals forgotten codes about the Kundalini serpent, the sacred oil that rises through the spine, and the true inner liberation of man, who reconnect with his divine essence. Available in physical, digital, and audiobook format, this journey is accessible to everyone who is ready to break their internal currents and awaken the God who carries silently. Now click on the link in the description and the fixed comment and start their ascension. But first of all, I have a novelty that you did not expect. Audio Libro Semen Retention Success Path has just been released, with more than 2 hours of deep and structured content revealing the 6 most transformative pillars of seminal retention, the definitive key to restore its focus, its strength, and unlock the divine man that the world tried to erase. What's more, by ensuring audiobook now, you automatically receive 30% off the ebook, The Art of Semen Retention for Men, with more than 20 practical pages on spiritual evolution, emotional balance, and high purpose. And if you feel that you are part of this call, become a member of the Gods of Semen channel, with anticipated access to content, priority in answers, and direct support to the mission that is restoring spiritual masculinity in thousands of awake men. Male celibacy, when understood in essence, is not a denial of pleasure. It is a statement of transcendence. It is not about running away from the woman, but not curving in the face of the seduction of the world. It is the silent vote of those who understood that the true enemy is not out, but inside. Every repressed impulse is not a sacrifice. It is an offering, a sacred gesture that states, with the body, with the blood, with the look, that man belongs to the top, not to the earth. St. Augustine called it order of love. And when desires are disordered, man lives as a slave, the senses govern, the soul obeys. But when order is restored, love for the eternal surpasses love for ephemeral. The celibacy then becomes the altar of a new hierarchy, the soul above the flesh, the destination above the distraction. Augustine knew, and Jung confirmed, that the man who refuses to react to the world's appeals begins to create his own inner universe. He no longer responds, he emanates. He no longer asks, he builds. This silent and lonely inner victory is the basis of a new spiritual masculinity, a masculinity that does not hate the woman, but does not bow to the symbolic belly of the world either, the belly that requires submission, pleasure, domestication. The new man looks at this womb and recognizes him as the portal of life, but refuses to be sucked by him. He plays, but doesn't dive. He honors, but does not love it. He transcends, This invisible war is not with swords or speeches. She is in silence, in the dark room where he wins himself. At dawn he chooses to remain firm, in the look that crosses the flesh and sees the soul. This is where the new man is born, not from the bowels of the woman, but from the bowels of the spirit itself. And this birth, unlike the biological, cannot be reversed. A man who has touched this level of dominance never again common. He was no longer a man and became a symbol. The woman will feel it. The world will feel it. But only he will know what cost. Because the male soul, when awakening, no longer needs approval. It is enough. She creates. She reigns. And the world, including the female world, bends before the one who has won himself. The woman's body is a temple, a portal between the invisible and the visible, between the spirit and the flesh, between the eternal and the transitory. But not every man who enters this temple activates the sacred. Most just consume, just play the altar without knowing what inhabits there. Because the woman's womb does not open to anyone. He reveals himself, in his mystical dimension, only before the whole man, of the man who does not seek pleasure but presence, that does not want to be satisfied but to consecrate. The woman feels when this man starts, and it is not a common absence. When he removes his energy, something inside it empties. The uterus is not just an organ, it is a vibrational center. It is sensitive to intention, forcibly, to the direction of the male soul. And when this man withdraws, not only physically, but vibrationally, the emptiness that remains is not emotional, is symbolic. The energy that once throbbed in silence now silences in pain. The womb feels loneliness, but not out of need, out of deactivation. Reports of women are recurring. Inexplicable dreams with men who do not maintain contact. Sense of longing for no reason. Restlessness in the body during the menstrual cycle. They say they can't forget. Who feel something different. Something that haunts them even without words exchanged. It's not romance, it's field. It's not attachment. It's vibrational impact. Because man's retention not only strengthens him, she leaves invisible marks on the female psyche. He was present so full that his absence screams. And here comes the most mysterious paradox. The man who is emotionally absent becomes spiritually present. He doesn't send messages, no promises. He doesn't say, "I love you," but she feels him inside her, not as a memory but as a vibration. The mystery of retention is this. He leaves the stage, but his shadow remains behind the scenes. And this shadow does not scare to be dark, scares for being deep. Because when man goes out with dignity and dominion, he not only he consecrates, and the temple that was touched by this kind of man is never the same. There is an archetype that dominates the modern feminine imagination, the inner prostitute. She is not a street woman, it's an energy, a way of operating, a standard of quick pleasure, emotional domain, and male consumption. This energy is encouraged by a culture that taught women how to use their sexuality as power, but a power that does not create, just consumes. The inner prostitute doesn't want an entire man. He wants a submissive man, whether the masculine on your knees, excited, available, expired. But the man in retention does not bow. He is a mirror of denial. It shows the body, and it does not react. It provokes, and he remains motionless. She implies, and he just watches. This hurts the inner prostitute, because it feeds on the reactivity of man. And when he doesn't deliver what she expects, something inside her begins to crumble. The archetype weakens, the mask begins to fall, and for the first time, perhaps, she's not in control. Every woman carries light and shadow, love and manipulation, healing and destruction. But it is the look of the centered man who reveals it. His energy does not accuse, he reveals. Don't fight, he exposes. And this exposure, when deep, causes a break within the woman. The shadow is torn from where it hid and placed in the light of male silence. Some will escape, others will try to destroy this man, but some will finally surrender. Because when she can't use man, sexually, emotionally, spiritually, she is forced to look at herself, and this mirror can heal or destroy. It can free the woman from slavery, from validation, or can dive her into despair for not knowing how to seduce. Seminal retention in this sense is not just about man. It is about what he awakens or dissolves in the woman. It is about the type of energy he denies and, when denying, annihilate. The inner prostitute dies, not for violence, but for the absence of food. The man who is dominated is fasting for the female shadow. It does not offer itself, does not let itself consume, do not circumvent itself by attention, and that kills. It kills the old system, the old seduction, the old manipulation. And with this death, something new can be born. A woman who doesn't use sex as a weapon but as an offering, not to master but to commune. And this woman can only emerge before a man who doesn't need her to exist. Every man who decides to tread the path of retention will come across a desert. It is not a physical place but a state of the soul, a different loneliness, not the absence of people, but the absence of complicity. Women will laugh, friends will mock. They will call it weak, strange, repressed. They will try to bring back to the game. But this mockery is the echo of mediocrity, trying to drown out the silence of the one who chose something bigger. And in this silence, something sacred happens. The soul begins to applaud. This loneliness is not punishment, it is delivery. This is where the new man is managed. It is in abandonment, in misunderstanding, in renunciation, that he begins to hear himself. It is in the emptiness left by the excitement of the world that he hears the call of eternity. Because retention is much more than not ejaculating. It is a preparation, a spiritual incubation. Each day of silence is a brick in the invisible temple that he is building within himself. You are not made to be accepted. The world already has many sociable, friendly, and service men. What is missing are the feared, those who enter the environment and make the air weigh. Those who do not smile for education but silence by presence. Those who do not seek to belong but mark territory for the simple fact that they are there. Retention leads you to this place, where the absence of pleasure becomes the presence of authority, where what is lacking in the eyes is left in the soul, and then comes the final transformation. You are reborn as a symbol. No matter what you say, post, or explain anymore, people feel. The field around it changes. The woman's gaze changes. Men avoid or respect you. The children face you in silence. The whole world reacts to something you still can't name, but it has become. Because the man who practices retention with conscience is no longer just an individual, he is a sign. Before you speak to you, you will feel your presence. Before you hear you, you will know that you carry something rare. And that's why you go alone. Because your energy doesn't fit in any space. Because your soul does not bow to the collective. Because your guarded semen became language. And your loneliness is now thrown. The man who supports this crossing is remembered, not for what he gave to the world, but for what he refused to deliver. You can remain just another man in the world, wishing everything, having nothing, empty of yourself. Or you can do what few have courage, to face silence, abandon the simulation and regain the stolen essence. Because in the end, the real prison was never the woman, it was her dependence on her. And if something inside you trembled while listening to these words, it is because the soul has already noticed the call. The womb of the world is cooling, waiting for men who burn inside. Leave a like to seal this learning in your flesh. Subscribe and activate the bell if you are ready to continue the journey that few dare to start. And watch the recommended video now. He's the next key to his passage right.